What if you knew of a tool that could make closing a $25,000 or $50,000 All-on-X implant case as easy as 1, 2, 3? Would you use it to grow your implant business? In this video, I'll demonstrate how a $24,000 FP3 All-on-X treatment plan was closed using a fee presentation web app that's revolutionizing the way full-arch providers present high-dollar treatment plans, while at the same time dramatically improving case acceptance. Now let's get into it. Thomas is 59 years old, a truck driver with more than 30 years behind the wheel for a nationally recognized trucking company. For over 15 years, Thomas had been dealing with a loose, ill-fitting upper denture that functioned poorly when chewing. Given the volume of bone loss, the surgeon recommended All-on-X implants to replace his loose denture. Before revealing any dollar amount, the implant treatment coordinator asked, "Thomas, before I share the cost of your proposed treatment plan, I'm curious what you think a full arch implant procedure like this typically runs." Thomas's guess was for $10,000. The treatment coordinator then explained that the actual fee is $24,000, and then she went silent and waited for Thomas to speak. In the bestseller book Gap Selling, author Jim Keenan says, "After you present the cost, shut your mouth and let the silence sit." Keenan goes on to say, "Do not immediately try to justify, explain, or soften the price after you've shared it." End quote. You see, speaking first after naming a price shows a lack of confidence and invites pushback. So the implant coordinator wisely watched for Thomas's body language and waited for his response. He responded, "Wow, that's a lot more than I had anticipated." This patient's hesitation is exactly where most practices panic and reach for a discount or just flat assume the patient can't afford it. A savvy treatment coordinator reads that response differently. She recognizes it as the gap between sticker shock and possibility. Listen to her scripted response.
"Thomas, I know this is no small number, but we've helped several patients figure out a way to make this procedure fit within their budget, and with your permission, I'd like to share a few common strategies that our patients use to make this procedure affordable. Would it be okay if I share a few payment options with you?"
Yes.
This is how a seasoned treatment coordinator disarms the patient who's never spent a large sum of money on their teeth at any one time. Next, she opened her payment stacking calculator called Case Closed Pro. Now with the calculator opened, the first thing she did was to upload an image of Thomas's mouth without his denture. In seconds, the software generated an after image of what his smile could look like following the proposed All-on-X procedure. Instantly, Thomas became intrigued by what he could now see as a possibility for himself, and she could tell that he really wanted it. Given his heightened emotions, there was no better time to begin discussing a payment strategy. It's at this point when the patient's desire for treatment reaches its highest peak. This is also when the desire to find a financial solution is usually at its strongest. Now, the door's open to freely discuss savings, financing, tax-advantaged accounts like flexible spending accounts and health savings accounts. Even a home equity line of credit or leveraging a retirement plan is not off limits when trust is established and health is on the line. To begin the financial discussion, the treatment coordinator started with the low-hanging fruit that most practices disregard in implant procedures: dental insurance. Whether a PPO or straight fee for service, the experienced implant coordinator understands that however insignificant dental insurance is, particularly in large cases, the patient still perceives their dental benefits as valuable. Therefore, when a patient can see that you're genuinely interested in helping them maximize their benefits, they recognize this as an act of empathy and thoroughness, positioning you that much closer to closing the case. Thomas had $1,500 available through his dental insurance. His benefits were easily maximized through X-rays, a CT scan, a complete examination, bone grafting, and the immediate provisional prosthesis. Since each of these charges fell within the total cost of his All-on-X procedure, this brought his amount due down to $22,500. Next, the treatment coordinator asked Thomas if he was in a position to place any cash down on the procedure. Turns out he was able to commit $3,000 in cash. This would drop his remaining amount due down to $19,500. Now at least one more funding source was needed for this case to move forward. Unfortunately, there was no available flexible spending account and no health savings account, so the implant treatment coordinator suggested using a third-party dental financing company to cover the difference. Thomas was open to the idea and said that his credit score was somewhere above 700, so she asked him where his monthly payment needed to be for this to fit his budget. Thomas suggested that a monthly payment would need to be somewhere around $300. So for starters, she ran the remaining $19,500 at 7% over a 6-year period. This suggested a $333 monthly payment. Thomas felt this amount was higher than he was comfortable with. He asked if she could somehow get it closer to $300 or below. She extended the terms from 6 to 7 years, keeping the interest rate at 7%. This ultimately landed his estimate at a monthly payment of approximately $294. Thomas could see this figure on screen, in real time as she ran the two scenarios. His expression made it clear that he was comfortable with these estimated terms. Once she gained his agreement, she convinced Thomas to complete a quick application through Proceed Finance. He understood that no inquiry would be placed on his credit report unless he actually accepted the loan. At this point, the implant treatment coordinator could give Thomas a personalized printout that included a smile simulation, an outline of his chosen financial resources, and the monthly payment amount that he said would be affordable. Thomas now had a financial path to treatment that he could take home and discuss with his wife, who ironically had been encouraging him to do something about his situation for years.
The dentist recommends dental implants to replace my false teeth. They came up with a plan that'll cost about $300 a month. What do you think?
I hate watching you struggle to eat or avoid so many different foods. We can afford this monthly payment. You should do it.
The treatment coordinator followed up with a phone call to Thomas a couple of days later. After answering a few questions Thomas had for her, he agreed to move forward and was scheduled for his full arch-fixed implant surgery. Another case closed. Another patient helped. So let's briefly summarize the success of this case. Number 1. The treatment coordinator uploaded a photo of Thomas's mouth into the payment plan calculator, which instantly simulated a post-treatment image of what his teeth could look like following implant treatment. Number 2. She explored several resources that could potentially help make the patient's full arch procedure affordable, ultimately landing on dental insurance, a cash payment, and third-party patient financing. Number 3. The treatment coordinator demonstrated what the patient could expect their monthly payment to the third-party financing company to be, with interest. This was a rough estimate, but it allowed the conversation to progress in the right direction. Number 4. A custom one-page printout that included each of these details was provided to the patient to take home to discuss with their partner. That's what a well-run payment planning session does. Except for maybe a standard cash discount, it doesn't reduce your fee or assume your patient can't afford the procedure. What it does is change the patient's experience when it comes to making large fees affordable. And when the patient leaves with a printed payment plan, a before and after image, and a number that fits their budget, they don't need a bunch of time to think about it. Case Closed Pro is the dental calculator built specifically for large dental fee presentations, like Thomas's, in real time, right in front of your patient. Every commonly used funding source, every payment scenario, and a professional payment plan printed before they leave your office. Try Case Closed Pro free for 14 days. If this isn't the most effective fee presentation tool your team has used on any large case, cancel anytime. No obligation. The link is below. Now let's get more of your patients to a yes.